Okay, so in this video I'm going to talk about stiff backs. What is a stiff back? Well, a stiff back is a board. Well, it's made of two boards. The first one is nailed to the top side of the rafter, or excuse me, top side of the ceiling joist, and the other one, so one's nailed flat, the other one is nailed on its end, and then they're nailed together and nailed down to the ceiling joist. They can also be put on the back side of your rafters, so they can be nailed to the back side of your rafter flat, and then put the other one on end. And if you want to, then you can run a web between the two stiff backs. Okay, so what are stiff backs used for? Well, there's three main things what they're used for. The first one is that it ties the rafters together. So if you've ever stepped on individual rafters, you step on it and they kind of move a little bit. Well, you don't want that to happen in your ceiling joist, because if you step on it, then if it moves a lot, then the screws that were used to fasten your drywall will break loose. So when you're up in your attic, you don't want that to happen. So you tie them together to make it, it stiffens them up so that they stay in the vertical position, that they don't move around so much. Okay, that's number one. So number two then is to distribute the load. So if you put load in a point position, like in this case with the webbing coming from the top stiff back to the bottom stiff back, you don't want all of that load on just the one ceiling joist. So the stiff back allows you to distribute the load over the length of the roof. Okay, that way it doesn't get a point load, it gets a distributed load. All right, so it distributes a load. So load is coming here, being transferred down the webbing down to here, and then it's transferred along here, but then it's also being transferred along the length of the stiff back, which may go over 5, 6 different ceiling joists. So it's distributed across the top of those ceiling joists. All right, so it helps distribute the load. All right, and then the third thing is it aligns it for decking and sheetrock. All right, so down here, if your ceiling joists are 2 feet on center, when you put the stiff back on, you make sure you mark them 2 feet on center, and then when you nail them up there, make sure that your rafter is sitting on your mark. And you can put them on the underside of your rafter, and same thing here. You put the first one, you mark it, and then you scoot the ceiling joist over and nail it on the mark. So then when they go to put your drywall underneath, they land perfectly on a stud. And the same thing when they put decking on top of your rafters, there's always going to end, the end of the sheet will always end on the center of a rafter, or on the bottom, it'll always end on the center of the ceiling joist. Okay, so you can use these in a stick-built roof. You can put them on the underside of your truss rafters, and then run your webbing to strengthen your roof so that it doesn't rack back and forth in the high winds and stuff. So it's used to stiffen it up, distribute load. So those are the three main things. Ties rafters together so that they stay vertical and they don't wiggle around. They distribute load, and then it aligns them for decking and sheetrock. So that is a stiff back, sometimes called a rat run or several other names, but we'll call it a stiff back.